I never thought I would write something like this. My name is Liam, and I've always believed in love, honesty, and loyalty. I'm not the kind of guy who checks his partner's phone or gets jealous easily. I trusted my wife completely. Her name is Natalie. She was beautiful, smart, and charming. I used to think I was the luckiest man in the world. We were married for 6 years. We had a small but comfortable home, 2 cats, and what I thought was a happy life. But everything started to change with one simple sentence. It's just dinner with an old friend. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Natalie worked in marketing, and she often met with people from her past, college friends, old co-workers, clients. So when she told me one evening that she was meeting an old college friend named Marcus for dinner, I smiled and said, "Have fun." She kissed me on the cheek and left. That was the beginning of the end, though I didn't know it yet. When she came back that night, she looked different. Not in a physical way, more like her energy had shifted. Her smile was soft but distant, and when I asked her how dinner was, she simply said, "It was nice, good to catch up." That was it. No details, no funny stories like she usually told. I brushed it off. Maybe she was tired. Maybe it had been a long day. But something in my gut felt off. Over the next few weeks, she mentioned Marcus more often. "Marcus said this," or "Marcus told me about this new book." Once, I even heard her laughing at something on her phone, and when I asked what it was, she said, "Just a meme Marcus sent me." I didn't feel jealous. I felt confused. Why was this old friend suddenly such a big part of her life? Things got worse. She started coming home later. Sometimes she'd say she was working late. Other times she said she was grabbing dinner or drinks with Marcus. I began to notice the way she smiled when his name came up. It was a different smile, softer, almost nervous. And she stopped touching me. Not in a dramatic way, but gradually. The kisses became shorter, the hugs felt empty. Our conversations were mostly about bills, groceries, or nothing at all. One night, she came home around 11 p.m. She smelled like cologne I didn't recognize. She looked surprised to see me still awake. "You're up?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, couldn't sleep." She walked past me and went straight to the shower. That was the night I felt my heart truly start to break. I sat there, staring at the wall, wondering if I was losing my wife right in front of me. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I wasn't that guy. So I decided to ask her. I waited until a quiet Sunday morning when we were having coffee. I said, "Hey, is there something going on with you and Marcus?" She looked shocked. Then she laughed. "Liam, seriously? He's just a friend." Her tone was calm, but her eyes didn't match. I don't know. You've been distant. You talk about him a lot. And you've been staying out late." She interrupted me. "I told you I was working or catching up. Am I not allowed to have a friend?" I shook my head. "Of course you are. I'm just saying it feels different." She got up, took her cup, and walked away. That night I couldn't sleep, so I did something I'd never done before. I checked her phone. She always kept it face down, but that night she forgot. I opened her messages. Her chats with Marcus weren't sexual, but they were intimate. Too intimate. He called her babe once. She said she missed him in one message. There were late-night texts, inside jokes, a few pictures, nothing explicit, but still they were too close. I felt sick. I closed her phone and sat in the dark for hours. In the morning, I couldn't look her in the eye. She noticed, of course. "What's wrong?" she asked. "You tell me," I replied. She narrowed her eyes. "What's that supposed to mean?" I couldn't hold it in. "I saw the messages, Natalie." Her face went pale. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she whispered, "You went through my phone?" "I had to," I said, "because you weren't telling me the truth." She started crying. It's not what you think. We're just close. We were best friends in college. We lost touch. That's all. I looked at her. Then why are you calling him babe? Why are you texting him at 2 a.m.? She didn't answer. She just sat there crying. That's when I knew. Maybe they hadn't slept together yet. Maybe. But emotionally, she was already gone. I asked her to stop seeing him. She said she would, but she didn't. A week later, I saw her sneaking a call in the bathroom. She came out pretending nothing happened. When I asked her who she was talking to, she said, no one. Just work stuff. I nodded. I didn't even argue anymore. I felt tired of fighting for someone who didn't want to be fought for. I started distancing myself. I worked late. I slept on the couch sometimes. We became strangers in the same house. Then one evening, she said she wanted to talk. I knew what was coming. She sat down and told me she was confused, that she didn't know what she wanted anymore, that she needed time. I listened quietly. When she finished, I nodded. Okay, I said. Take all the time you need. She moved out 2 days later, said she was going to stay with a friend. I later found out it wasn't just any friend, it was Marcus. A mutual friend told me they were living together now. That night, I sat alone in our empty house. The cats kept me company. I felt broken, but I also felt numb. I couldn't even cry. I had done everything right. I had trusted her, loved her, and still I lost her. But this isn't the end of the story. Not even close. The days after Natalie moved out were quiet. Too quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming. I could hear the wind outside. But I couldn't hear the voice of the woman I once loved, the sound of her feet walking down the hall, or even her laughter in the next room. It felt like someone had hit the mute button on my life. I still went to work every day, still smiled at coworkers, and still answered emails. But inside, I was collapsing. I kept asking myself the same question over and over again. How could she throw away 6 years like it was nothing? At night, I sat in the dark and tried to figure out where it all went wrong. Maybe I had been too comfortable. Maybe I should have noticed the signs earlier. But then again, love is about trust, and I trusted her completely. That was my mistake, I guess. A month went by. I didn't hear from her. No texts, no calls, not even to ask about the cats. I thought she might at least check in, maybe feel guilty or say sorry. But nothing. Total silence. Meanwhile, our mutual friend Jake, who had always been close to both of us, reached out. I heard what happened, he said. Man, I don't know what to say. You didn't deserve that. I didn't want pity. I didn't want sympathy. But Jake told me something I wasn't ready to hear. They're serious now. Marcus and Natalie. She's talking about moving in with him long term. My chest tightened. She already moved in, I said quietly. Jake shook his head. No, I mean like future plans. Real ones. Buying property, maybe marriage again. That hit me harder than anything else. She didn't even wait. She just left and started a new life like I was a phase she grew out of, like I was a mistake. That realization turned my sadness into something else. Anger. So I did something I never thought I would do. I started therapy. I told my therapist everything. About the messages, the dinner, the lies. About how I felt invisible toward the end. He didn't tell me what I wanted to hear. He told me what I needed to hear. You didn't fail, he said. You gave love fully. That's not weakness, that's strength. That stuck with me. So I decided to rebuild, not to get revenge, not to make her jealous, but for myself. I joined the gym. I started running. I cut my hair, bought better, clothes, and began spending time with people who respected me. Slowly, I started feeling like a person again. One evening, About 4 months after the breakup, I got a message from Natalie. Just one line. "Hey, can we talk sometime?" My stomach flipped. I didn't reply right away. I stared at that message for hours. Finally, I wrote, "Why?" She said, "I just need to clear some things up. I owe you that much." We met at a coffee shop near where we used to live. When she walked in, she looked nervous. She wore the same perfume, the same jacket I'd once bought her. But something about her had changed. Her eyes looked tired. "I don't know where to start," she said. I waited. "I just wanted to say sorry," she began. "I didn't handle things the right way. I hurt you, and I know that. I was confused, and I got carried away with Marcus." It felt exciting. I felt seen. But now I realize I made a mistake in how I ended things. I kept a straight face. "So are you saying you regret it?" She paused. "Parts of it." "Yes." I took a breath. "You didn't just hurt me, Natalie. You made me feel like I never mattered, like our whole life was nothing." Tears welled in her eyes. "It wasn't nothing. I swear. But the truth is, I had already started checking out mentally, long before Marcus came back. I just didn't know how to tell you." That hurt even more, knowing that while I was planning vacations and future goals, she was planning her exit. She reached across the table, but I pulled my hand back. "I didn't agree to meet so you could make yourself feel better," I said. "I came here because I needed closure, and I got it." She blinked. "So, that's it?" I stood up. "Yeah, that's it." I walked away without looking back. A few weeks later, I heard from Jake again. Apparently, Natalie and Marcus were already having issues, arguments, trust problems. She found out Marcus had been texting other women, karma, maybe, but I didn't feel happy about it. I didn't feel anything, because by that time I had started talking to someone new. Her name was Riley. She worked in tech. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. She had a warm smile, a dry sense of humor, and this calm energy that made me feel safe. I didn't tell her much at first. I didn't want to carry the weight of my past into something new. But over time, I opened up. Riley wasn't like Natalie. She didn't play games. She didn't talk about old friends in secret messages. She asked me how my day was and really listened. She didn't complete me. She reminded me that I had never been broken. One night, we were sitting on her balcony, drinking tea. I told her everything, the whole story, from the just dinner excuse to the texts to the breakup. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said something I'll never forget. "Liam, sometimes the people we love the most are just here to teach us how strong we can be when they leave." I smiled for the first time in what felt like years. Maybe Natalie walking out was the best thing that ever happened to me. A year passed. Life had changed in ways I never imagined. The pain from Natalie's betrayal was now just a scar, a reminder of where I had been, but no longer something that hurt every day. I had fully moved in with Riley. We had turned her small apartment into a cozy space that felt like a real home. We cooked together, traveled a bit, even adopted a rescue dog named Milo. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't looking back. I wasn't waiting for messages that never came. I wasn't trying to understand someone who didn't care to explain. I was simply living, fully, honestly. One afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later that evening, curiosity got the best of me, so I played it. "Hey, Liam, it's Natalie. I don't know if this number still works. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry again. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. Things didn't go how I thought they would. Marcus and we broke up a few months ago. I guess I just wanted to hear your voice again. I miss talking to you. Anyway, take care." I sat there staring at the wall. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was just surprised at how little it affected me. Riley came in with 2 mugs of tea. "You okay?" she asked. I smiled. "Yeah, just heard from a ghost, that's all." She raised her eyebrow but didn't ask more. That was the kind of person Riley was, respectful of space, calm in storms. I told her later, though, about the call, about the message. Riley just said, "You don't have to respond. You've already healed. Don't reopen a wound that finally closed." She was right. I didn't reply. I deleted the message. That chapter was over. But fate had one last twist in store. 2 months later, I was at a business conference in another city. I had just finished a panel talk and went to grab coffee in the hotel lobby. And there she was, Natalie, standing in line, holding, her phone looking a bit lost. Our eyes met. She froze. "Liam?" she said softly. "Hey," I replied as calmly as I could. She looked different. Tired, worn down. But there was still a flicker of the woman I once knew. The woman I once loved. "I didn't expect to see you here," she said. Same. We stood there awkwardly. Finally, she said, "Can we talk?" We sat down at a quiet table. She told me everything. How her relationship with Marcus had started with passion but quickly turned toxic. He cheated on her, blamed her for everything, controlled her money, even tried to isolate her from her friends. Eventually, she left. She moved cities, started therapy, and got a new job. But she said something that caught me off guard. "I keep thinking about you, about us, and how I ruined something so good." I stayed silent. I was stupid, Liam. I was selfish. I thought I was missing something. But it turns out you were. The best thing in my life, and I didn't see it. I nodded. "Maybe. But I think I was supposed to go through that pain, because it taught me everything I needed to learn." She looked at me, confused. "What do you mean?" I smiled. "If you hadn't left, I never would have met Riley." Her face changed. "I'm happy now," I continued. "I found someone who sees me, hears me, and respects me. I wouldn't trade that for anything." She wiped a tear away. "I'm glad." "You're doing well. Really." We stood up. I shook her hand, not out of coldness, but closure. "Goodbye, Natalie," I said. "Goodbye, Liam." I walked out of the hotel and into the sunlight. I took a deep breath, feeling lighter than ever. That final conversation didn't hurt. It didn't stir up old feelings. It was just closure. When I got home, Riley was waiting on the couch, with Milo asleep on her lap. "How was the trip?" she asked. "Unexpected," I said with a smirk. "But good." I sat beside her and kissed her forehead. She smiled. "Want to order in?" "Yeah." "And maybe a movie?" "Perfect." As we sat together laughing over bad pizza and cheesy films, I realized something simple and beautiful. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the reason the best thing can begin. Natalie was my past. Riley was my present. And maybe my future. And I had finally moved on.